Well, 'tis the season for travel. According to Deloitte's 2023 Holiday Travel Survey, we can expect a busy one this year. 48% of Americans plan to travel over the holidays, up from 31% in 2022. And the trend upward can be seen across all age groups and incomes. We heard from one hospitality giant Marriott CEO, Anthony Capuano, at Yahoo Finance Invest on Tuesday, and he said the company expects traffic for leisure and business to be terrific this year. And now, we are going to hear from Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian to see if they're seeing the same thing at airports. Ed, great to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
Absolutely. I mean, let's talk about the year that has been. I mean, to this point, 2023 passenger throughput is 105% compared to 2019. So we're on track to see the first year where we replaced one of those pre-pandemic markers.
Yeah.
How has that kind of passed through? What kind of bookings have you seen for the holiday season thus far?
I think it's going to be a really busy travel period. It's going to be a great travel period. We're ready for it. We've got our staff and technology, and our airports are ready to handle the volumes. And I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time for people as they continue to invest in experiences.
And how do those booking trends look going even into 2024? When you think about the holidays, that travel season, that's typically when everybody is saying, okay, got to go see grandma, got to go see my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, newborns as well. So how does that also transpire even after that?
The bookings look good going into the new year. After the holidays, there's always a lull in our business. You know, January through the first part of February is usually the quietest period for travel, and then it picks up again with the President's Day weekend and spring break, and then just runs right through Labor Day. So, but everything's looking good.
What can customers expect to be different in that travel experience when we get into next year?
Well, one of the things that everyone's experienced is, the demand has outweighed the capabilities, and it doesn't matter whether it's in the airlines, the hotels, the restaurants. We're now fully ready, fully trained. We've got 35,000 new people that we've added to the company over the course of the last couple of years, and they're just ready to go. And I just give you a stat as to how ready we are at Delta. Yesterday, we operated 5,000 flights. We only had 2 cancellations the entire day, and both due to weather, and ran 90% on time. So the team's there, the team's ready to go, and people, when they get into the airports, are going to see a great experience. And the other thing that's also interesting for a lot of people as they can come back to the skies is all the investment we've made in the airports themselves. Here in New York at LaGuardia or JFK or Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, Seattle, Boston. Beautiful new airports, beautiful new clubs, great new technology, free Wi-Fi in Delta. It's a wonderful thing.
I want to come back to some of those perks just a little bit later, but you mentioned winter travel too. This seems to be one of the more volatile parts of the year. And winter weather, we can't control it as much as we wish we could. What changes in operations does Delta become accustomed to making at this time of the year to make sure that you can still carry or tout that ranking as #1 in on-time arrivals year to date?
Well, one of the things we're proud of is that we are very much a northern tier airline. New York, Detroit, Minneapolis, Seattle, right across the northern tier. Those are all big hubs for Delta. And that's where we have a lot of people that understand de-icing, understand what it takes to operate in difficult weather patterns and conditions. We got all the de-icing fluid. We run plays to get ready in advance of the winter season. So we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready.
I want to talk about some of those recent financial results too here, because it seems like, and I was taking a look at the stock price, even as we have about a month and change left in this year, it seems like investors are trying to get ahead of any normalization that we may see in next year. Is that something that is playing out in the booking trends, the numbers? Is there normalization that is perhaps possible in the airline industry once we get into 2024?
Well, I think we're entering the period of the new normal for travel. I think the big revenge travel, if that's what you want to refer to it as, is, I would say it's behind us, but the big pop has kind of come and gone. And now as you're looking at pricing, as you're looking at trends, we're coming off of a peak last year where people just needed to go. They didn't really care what they paid or where they went. They just needed to get out. We're now back into more of a normalized pricing environment, but we still have a great outlook on our revenue. I expect our fourth quarter to be a record for the company, in both in revenues as well as in demand. In our industry, on the lower end of the pricing curve, there is some stress with some of the low-cost airlines and low-fare airlines. But as a full-service carrier, whether it's international, whether it's business, whether it's premium, we've got a very healthy mix of revenue streams that are all contributing to that record performance.
You're probably one of the only CEOs over the course of this earnings season that hasn't had to mention Manjaro or Ozempic on an earnings call, but you have had to at least consider the consumer demand environment right now and what some retailers perhaps have also had to consider too in student loan repayments and how that's impacted, or at least that resumption is natural to think that some consumers' travel plans may be influenced. Is that starting to show up at all?
We're not seeing it in our bookings. On the margin, we're not seeing the continued growth up, but more of the stability in terms of where we've been for the last 18 months.
Certainly. When you think about that international travel demand, because this was my first year, all my friends know this is my first year traveling internationally. Delta, you've had an amazing year and cited that in your most recent earnings as well as one of the catalysts here. How much does that continue to be a tailwind going into next year, people trying to move about the world as well?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to stay strong. Yeah. Obviously, watching what's happening in Israel, what's happening in Ukraine, and some of the risks around European travel into the next year, I'd say is something that we're guarded around. But we're not seeing any reductions in anticipated travel. But I think that's the air of caution. But Asia. China's still not really open yet, and so we've got the second largest economy. It's still not traveling. So I do think internationally we're going to continue to see strong trends there as well.
And you talked about that on the earnings call too, with the conflict in the Middle East. Inbound and outbound flights to Tel Aviv had been suspended through October 31st. Have you needed to extend that?
Yeah, it's on a rolling suspension, and I don't anticipate we'll be flying, unfortunately, into Tel Aviv for quite a number of weeks, if not months. It's really going to be dictated by the conflict and when it's safe to return. We're ready whenever we feel comfortable. Then our crews are comfortable going back in, and boy, it's been tough to watch.
Yeah, certainly a situation that many CEOs like yourself are keeping tabs on and trying to navigate as best as possible as well. Just lastly, while we have you here, and it's been a year of amazing demand. We've talked about that at length. But when you think about some of the other changes and how you've made sure that you continue to welcome customers, you've got a premium airline, a lot of premium assets here, and there was a lot of backlash over the Sky Miles program. You made the changes, but then we're able to roll some of that back.
Right.
Are we done with changes for Sky Miles? I got to know what to tell my parents when I get home for Thanksgiving.
Sky Miles, we made some modifications and we modified again. We're good. We're going to stay good for quite some time. And I appreciate everyone's understanding as we went through that period of time. It was tough because we have so many really loyal customers to the airline, and that in itself is a bit of the problem, is that we have so many loyal customers and strong premium customers. It was putting a lot of stress on the premium assets that we have. So we're in a good spot. We're going to stay here, and look forward to seeing you on Delta real soon.
Well, that's great to hear, and it certainly elucidated a lot of the customer demand and a lot of fanfare and loyalty that the company and the brand has.
Yeah.
Ed, thanks so much for taking the time.
Brad, good to be with you. Thank you.